Hi, muckers, and welcome back to the podcast. I hope you're doing very well. At the time I'm filming this, it is way before the early stages of the podcast, and I genuinely mean that because I don't even know what this is called. But I had a lot of thoughts, and I was journaling, and I'm drinking red wine. Two great things hand in hand. And I just wanted to stop journaling and talk. But a YouTube video wasn't necessarily the best route to take with it, and I'm venturing into the podcasting, and I thought having an open conversation about what I was going to write down on a piece of paper would be maybe interesting, and so that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, I am going to pour more red wine, and we're also going to talk about my opinion of red wine. So I'm drinking Kylie Minogue red wine. Here's the unscrewing. So magnificent. And then let's do a little bit of pouring. Wow, revolutionary. Now, here's the thing. Red wine does not taste good. Sorry, I'm closing it. It's not that it's the most exciting or delicious drink ever. It's actually bitter as fuck and not that enjoyable to drink, but when I drink it, I feel so sophisticated and I feel so like my thoughts are juicy and they're ripe and I just feel so professional. I don't know, I associate it with like being grown and being present. It's so stupid. It's weird that I can think of that with like a drink, but it's a lot to drink. I literally have to hold my breath to do it. I'm trying to get accustomed to it, and I know I eventually will because I was like that with green tea. So I know that in my future, I will love it. But until that stage, let me hold my breath to drink this. I'll get to the stage where I enjoy it. Oh, my body just shivered. So, what I want to discuss is I was journaling and writing down about an event that happened. And the event in question is a couple weeks ago, I went to Portsmouth. Or Portsmouth? Portsmouth? I don't know. One of the two. You don't care. Neither do I. And it's like an hour and a half away from Brighton. And I have a friend down there. And so I got the train down. And me and him were there. And we were drinking. And we were down by like one of the public beach spots and just having a good time, you know, talking and drinking and catching up like old friends. And I was so happy in that moment for multiple different reasons. I was enjoying his company so much and I was having such a great time and my drinks slapped as fuck. But I had this feeling of nostalgia come over me because we were surrounded by other people drinking and other people just enjoying each other's company. And at a certain stage, this random guy came up to us and he was asking for cigarettes. And the guy I was with had some. And he was just talking and then he ended up smoking like 4 cigarettes in front of us while just talking to us about like the most nonsensical thing ever. And it was so funny and so just like, I was looking up and being like, I had no idea what he was talking about, but I was enjoying hearing it. And it just reminded me so much of 2019. And what I mean by that is 2019 summer for me was like every single day, me and my friends were going out drinking. And we were going out drinking probably too much. And I can look back and be like, yeah, we were going out drinking too much. But at the same time, I'm like, what, we were 17-year-olds just enjoying summer. Like we had just finished our exam season and we were just enjoying each other's company. There wasn't drama at that stage. Oof, boy. And it was just nice getting drunk with your friends, you know what I mean? And we would have the best nights out. And it just felt to me like that. Like being in the street, drunk, having the most nonsensical conversations and going up to strangers and talking to them, or strangers coming up to you and talking to you. But at the same time, you still feeling completely safe in that moment. And that's exactly how I felt when I was in Portsmouth, down by that random ass beach a couple of weeks ago. And I was sitting down and I was writing about that in my journal, about kind of like my thoughts. And I haven't wrote in my journal, or written. Does that say written? I haven't written in my journal in quite some time, because recently the thought of being at peace with my thoughts has been not something I want to do. I feel like recently I've been very on the go. I've been very dun 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 dun, and just needing to like not be focused on a quiet activity, not be with myself, not be, I've been throwing myself at everything. And I wouldn't say it's a distraction, but it's just because I've been preferring to keep busy right now. And so journaling is something that really forces you to be at peace, be quiet, and think about yourself, which I necessarily haven't been wanting to do recently, but tonight I really did. And then I was writing this down and I was like, damn, I have more thoughts than my hand is willing to write, because I was writing this down and I was like, I do not want to fucking write this, but I want to put the thoughts out there. I want to recall it. I want to think about it. And obviously that's where this came from. And it just felt to me whenever I was recalling it, am I a person that lives in nostalgia? Or am I a person that lives for the future? And I'm reading this book right now, and I would probably assume that some people who are listening to this, if anyone listens to this, have read this book because it is very popular. It is The Power of Now. And the book is incredible. I picked it up at a W.H. Smith at the airport while I was traveling back to Derry for a couple days. I've always wanted to read it. It's about, spirituality and being at one with yourself and understanding your body and your mind. And it's phenomenal. It's exceeded all my expectations. And a part of the book talks about the fact that our minds can't process the now because we're not in control of it. And we don't know the narrative that it's set in, going to take. So that's why we're hyper focused on the past or the future. Now take a moment to think about that, because I said that to my friend and she was like, oh shit. You know what? I'm always thinking about what I'm doing in the next hour or tomorrow, but never thinking about this moment in time. Or I'm always thinking about something that happened, never this moment in time. And I just want to, while I take a sip, you think about that. Like, were you like that? Or are you telling me that this entire day you've been just thinking about the task that you've been doing at that moment in time? I'm going to take a sip and I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Right? Because I know that I don't. I know that I am always thinking about the next hour, tomorrow, the day after that, next week. Or, shit, what did I do yesterday? The day before that? What did I do last week? What did I do fucking 6 years ago? I've never understood why I never appreciated things in the moment, and I always looked back on them with nostalgia, even if they were horrible things that I knew I hated. And I'm looking back on them and I'm like, why the fuck am I romanticizing this? Like, why the fuck am I appreciating this when I didn't in the moment? And this book is helping me put it into perspective that your brain can't control the now because it's happening. The future hasn't happened, so it can control that if it thinks it can. And it can look back on the past. And I think ever since understanding that concept, it's really changed my perspective on life. But at the same time, I'm like, am I more someone that looks to the future or more someone that looks in the past? And I think when looking in the past, I definitely look at it in a sad way. For me, nostalgia always turns to sadness. For example, whenever I was focused on how happy I was that I was in this almost, drinking haze with all of these strangers like I was back in 2019, I then got sad because I was like, shit, 2019's over and I'm never going to experience that again. Shit, 2019 memories are over. I'm never going to experience that again. Shit, the people that I was with in 2019, the situations that I was in 2019 are never going to happen again. So then that made me sad, and I was like, so I can't even appreciate what is happening now because I'll associate it with something that's happened and then give it a sad, connotation. Like, what the fuck is up with that? And then it started this full back and forth in my head where I was like, shit, I do this a lot. And I would assume other people do. I know it's not even me being like, oh, I wonder if other people do this. I know for a fucking fact people do this. So I'm not even going to bullshit. But it's weird how it works. And it's so fucking confusing. And I think I do this with so many things where I look back on them and they've not been the greatest times, or they've been flat out the worst fucking times ever. And I look back on them and I'm like, was it so bad? Or was I overreacting? And I know for a fact if I was to say that to myself when it was happening, I would fucking beat the shit out of myself, past to now, because it was as bad, if not worse than what I'm remembering it as. And that goes for the following. My college, which I dropped out of in the second year, and it was absolute fucking disastrous. It was a nightmare in the second year. And then I was looking back on it and I was like, was I too harsh? Like, I really enjoyed the first year. I really enjoyed, my teachers in the first year. I enjoyed my friend groups in the first year. I felt like I was really happy then. Would it have been the same? And it's like, I can't even allow myself to, think about what I've enjoyed in the second year because I'm thinking back on the nostalgia of the fucking first year. The second year of college for me was not like the first year at all. I loved the first year. The second year was not like that, and I don't know why my brain can't fucking connect that the first and second year were two fucking different entities, and I can't miss something that I know for a fact isn't there anymore, wasn't there. Another thing, I spent 7 years at my secondary school hating my fucking life. And then I look back on that now and I'm like, was that so bad? Were those teachers so bad to me? Like, was I overreacting? Maybe was I just really depressed on top of that I was so hazed? Does everyone go through that? And then I'm thinking back on it, and if I sit and properly think, I remember myself coming home crying from school, and I remember myself crying in school. I remember the fucking worst of the worst from those school days, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm looking back on that and being like, was I too, dramatic? And I'm like, I was near beat up every fucking day. You know what I mean? Like, how can I look back on that and be like, am I just being dramatic? But this is the way my brain chooses to process these things, and I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it, and that all plays into nostalgia for me, where I genuinely romanticize everything in this fucking world, and I don't know why, and I don't know if other people do it. You know what I mean? I feel like it's normal to romanticize things because you're looking back on them and you're not experiencing it anymore. You've obviously forgotten, things from that time, but you're remembering the key moments. So you're filling it up and maybe being like, was it so bad? Was it whatever? That's where I'm at with everything in my life. And the reason it's all happening is because I have so much time out here because I'm living alone. And it's I see all these TikToks all the time where it's me watching a YouTube video in the background, playing TikToks, listening to music on my DS, playing my Switch, drawing all at the same time so that I can't allow my brain to have a thought process. And it's like, yeah, so other people have, where it's like if you sit down and think, everything comes back to you. Everything comes back to you. And I mean, like, sometimes I get reminded of things that I experienced whenever I was like 6 years old. And that's something that's been happening so much ever since living out in Brighton. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I will remember an event that happened to me when I was 4 fucking years old. And I'll remember it for the first time since it happened. Never once in my fucking life would I have remembered or have remembered this day, this event, this saga, this whatever the fuck. And I'm like, holy shit, the human brain is so complex and so scary and intelligent that it can remember and recall things as far back as whenever you were a literal infant. Like just learning to fucking read, write, talk, process, have emotions, but yet my brain can recognize that that was so far away and recall it in detail. And I think that's insane. And so, yeah, that's been happening a lot. And I've now been living alone for 5 weeks. Or no, it's been over a month. It's been over a month, actually. And the more I live alone, the less this happens. It was more so at the first couple of weeks because it was, like, really daunting. And it was scary because it was like, holy shit, I'm remembering things from a long time ago I don't want to remember, or I feel like my brain is only remembering, certain things because it wants me to get sad, or it wants me to be like, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have done whatever. And I think it all plays into nostalgia. And nostalgia is something that can make or break people. And I've read forums online about people who cannot handle the nostalgia that, their brain is overwhelming them with. Because it's a lot. Some people don't want to remember certain events. Some people don't want to remember certain people. Some people don't. You get the point. And some people feel like they can't escape that. And then it's like intrusive thoughts. And some people have the intrusive thoughts being, louder than they need them or want them or can handle them to be. And it's a scary thing. And luckily, I've always been someone who doesn't allow myself to get overwhelmed. And I don't know, I feel like I've always been pretty good at that, where if I feel myself getting overwhelmed, I'll sit and think. And I do that a lot. I've always done that. I can remember myself doing that whenever I was like 11 years old. I've done that for years upon years. I'll just sit. I'll sit and think if I feel myself getting overwhelmed. And within like 20 minutes, I think differently about what I was getting overwhelmed about. So I'm glad that I have that approach. But nonetheless, it's scary to think about how much those can be for some people, how loud the pain of nostalgia can be for people. And that goes for remembering relationships with people. Again, I don't need to state this over and over again, but for me that is friendships, because I haven't had many lovers. And I feel like there's a split of being romantic with someone and them no longer being in your life. That's a whole thing in itself. That is so, in my opinion, daunting and scary, because you have been at the biggest stage of vulnerable with that person and they're no longer in your life. They're going and doing their own thing. And it's like, one, do they think of you? Two, do they think about the things you've done together? Three, there's so many, in my opinion, sub-genre of conversations that come from that. You may disagree. You may be like, blah, blah, blah. You move on. Friendships. You build a life together. you build a life together, and then, something can happen, gone. And it's like you have to deal with that. And most of the time when things like that happen, you don't allow yourself to process. That was the one thing that I never processed, losing friends. Because I had the attitude of, you know what, fuck you, I don't need to think about you, moving along. And I genuinely had that approach. I genuinely had the approach of like, oh, fuck you, fuck off. And genuinely never thought about these people. And so the more time I have alone, the more time I reevaluate all my friendships. And some of them I'm like, thank God, I escaped that. And other ones I'm like evaluating, like, what happened? What happened? And it's like, when people grow apart, that happens because people grow. And we're not taught that it's natural and normal for people to grow. People to not always align with each other, to not always A to B together. So when it happens, it's shocking. And that's where I'm at with losing friendships. And it takes a lot to get to that stage, in my opinion. Sorry, I was taking a sip of red wine. And so nostalgia is, on one hand, a beautiful thing, but on the other hand, I think a very scary thing. And I think so much of the world is built on nostalgia or the future, and not in the present. And I guess that has to come into play with like technology. You know what I mean? Technology is like, the future, or this is what we did in the past, so we're going to move forward and do this. It's never like, look what's happening now, or look what we've done now. And I think this is so off topic, but like, with what's happening with like coronavirus, it's like, this is what we're going to do in the future, or look what happened in the past with coronavirus. It's not like, look where we are now. We're doing this now. We're doing this now. We're doing this now. We've done these amount of vaccines. This is the statistics right now. It's like, okay, we've done this now, but here's what we're going to do in the future. Here's what we're going to do in the future. Or here's what we've done in the past. Here's what we're going to do. Like, baby, focus on now for a little bit. Because this is why we're so hot-wired on needing information so much. It's because we're so used to it all being so fast and never sitting down, never processing. And I do think it is damaging. I do. And it's ironic coming from someone who, like, their job is social media, but it is so instilled in social media that, we're moving forward. We're moving forward because companies do want us moving forward, because they want us, consuming more of their company shit, whatever the fuck they're putting out, or whatever product or social media or whatever. They want you always like looking to the future and knowing that you're going to be continuing to be on that social media, continuing to be on your phone. Look at this new phone coming out. It's in their best interest that you're looking to the future as well. And I think it does a lot of harm along with a lot of other things that social media brings harm with. I think that's a very overlooked one. And it's interesting in the conversation of nostalgia to look back on yourself the way you do in nostalgia and be like, if you were to meet yourself this time last year, how would that go? How would that go? I'm asking you that, like, how would that go with you? Because in 2020, I don't think I would like believe where I am right now, but I feel like I'm so much more mature and have an idea of what I care about that I didn't have last year. Oh boy, and also in 2020 heavily I heavily drank. I heavily drank, and it was just because like we were at home every day, and like at home every day, proper lockdown, and I was on Zoom calls with my friends every night and on FaceTime calls with my friends, and we would be drinking, and like we were all drinking a lot, and it was sad, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that because we were just like drinking, whatever, because I don't have that opinion on drinking, but I personally felt it was sad because we would be on a FaceTime call, me and my friends would get severely drunk, then we would hang up, and we're not together, we're on a phone call, and we would hang up the call at like midnight or 1 a.m., and we would all still be drunk, but we're not on a call anymore, and we're just sitting in our bedroom. And at that point, do you choose to drink more? Or do you go to bed? Or do you try sober up? And when you're doing that every single day, it's like, Jesus Christ. I don't think I was more dehydrated than March or April of 2020. I was just drinking so much because me and my friends were on calls, and it would have been what we were doing in person, but it wouldn't have been what we were doing in person because we wouldn't have gone out that much. But we were all just so bored of being in lockdown that we were drinking every day on Zoom call to try to do something exciting. And I don't think that's sad to say because there was genuinely nothing to do when you're that deep into quarantine. And I mean quarantine, like not able to go to supermarkets, not able to leave your house. And at that stage, I wasn't able to leave my room because my dad was quarantining in the house and we all were quarantining in our bedrooms. And now, it's not that I'm against it, but I just like drinking now. It's like a whole thing. Like I'm drinking red wine right now, and I'm like, okay, I'm drinking red wine. I'm very aware that I'm drinking, and I know that I want to drink a smoothie in the morning, and I know I want to go to bed after this, and it's like drinking to me now just feels so different, and I feel so much older than 18, and that's weird. I don't know. I feel like I did a lot of my drinking with my friends whenever I was younger, which is very like UK Ireland culture. And I now feel like I'm 18, and it's like, okay. And also, the friends that I have out here, we're not necessarily going out to bars or to nightclubs. Like I'm not on that level with the people I know out here, even with like my closest friends who are out here. Like we would go to coffee instead, you know what I mean? Like we're not necessarily going out to drink. And so I just haven't been drinking. So meeting up with Adam of 2020, I think it would be super interesting. And I would be like, you will find where you're going. Like you feel like you're in a ditch right now because it was online college, and it every day was literally waking up to do the same thing. And I mean, like, we can all take that from quarantine in 2020, 2021, where it's like every day has felt, if not the same, similar. And again, you have to not be hard on yourself because we're in a pandemic, and I feel like we're normalizing that, and we shouldn't be normalizing the fact we're in a pandemic. Like, how are we supposed to emote during a pandemic? How are we supposed to live during a pandemic? We're still getting accustomed to it every single day because it's a pan-fucking-demic. And so that would be my, perspective of meeting 2020, Adam. 2019 Adam, different story. Different story. Going out, like night clubbing every night. My body couldn't. No. I don't know how I was able to, well, I was 17, so I mean, I'm literally only 18, or well, I was 16. Yeah, I think I was 16. It was a lot. It was just so exciting because, like I never had fake IDs. I just kind of, if the bouncers let me in, they let me in. I never did fake IDs. And I genuinely stood by that. I never did fake IDs because I didn't care that much. It was always like, me and my friends' attitude was always, if we went to a bar and they let us in, great, we're going to get so fucked tonight. If we go to a bar and they don't let us in, okay, we're going to go back to one of each other's house and eat food. Like, that was it. We let the night decide for ourselves. Like, none of them had fake ID either. It was just how we rocked. And so, I don't know, I think I went on a lot of nights out and dealt with a lot of bad people and dealt with a lot of unnecessary drama and dealt with a lot of just, quite honestly, pain during those times as well, like, and betrayal. And like, that's not what you should associate with going out and having a fun time in your youth. And so I can't wait to change that narrative. Here I go again with looking to the fucking future. You see what I mean? I can't wait to change that narrative here in Brighton with new people and new experiences, and not associating going on a night out with being scared if my fucking best friend in my entire life is gonna, like, hate me by the end of the night from her just being told information. You know what I mean? Like, this bullshit. Like, all this, like, it's so... And that's honestly like the mentality I've had towards drinking then, and then that would put me off drinks and stuff like that. And so that's been my mentality when it comes to drinking and nights out. And I know a lot of Americans, wait to drink, and the drinking culture is a bit different and all like that. And so for any of you listening who are like shocked at me talking about all of these drinking experiences like pre-18, yeah, we do most of our drinking before we're 18. And then by the time we get to 18, we're bored of it. Which, I mean, they should probably lower the age of drinking so that, actually, I don't know about that. Because if they lower the age of drinking, maybe people will drink from even younger. Or the people who were already drinking at age 16 will just be able to do it, and then they'll realize that after a year, oh, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, or I'm not going to do this every day. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I want to know what your opinion is on that. Like, hit me up on social media. Like, if you think they should lower the age of drinking. I think, like, that goes for substance as well. I feel like some substance, I mean, it's like, just go case by case and see what it does for people, and see how, like, if it's necessary for people. And for some people, drinking is that, like, a simple drink. For me, not so much. I don't like the feeling of being bloated. So that's honestly one of my biggest things I hate. So that deters me from drinking a lot because I don't want to feel bloated. I never really get hungover. I just kind of get hazy for a few hours when I wake up. That's it. But I don't drink because I don't want to feel bloated. That being said, will I drink in the future? Absolutely. It's the most toxic relationship ever. Oh my god. Over the years, my drinks of choice have changed as well. It used to be, like, the hardest of hard gin. Like, I mean, like, gin that tasted so hospitally. Now, my favorite drinks alcohol wise are ones that don't taste like alcohol. That's kind of like all my friends out here in Brighton drink beer, and I'm like, ugh, if you drink beer, like, no hate, but that is the most disgusting drink ever, and it, like, lingers in the air. Hate beer. So it's interesting about the conversation of nostalgia and moving forward. And that was some thoughts I had about it. I want to know what you think. Please let me know about it. Because I really think the conversation can pick up from what your opinions are on things that I've said in this, at least. I appreciate you for listening. I hope you have a really good night. Stay safe, stay happy, stay gorgeous. And yeah, live in the now. We don't do it enough, and we really should. If you find yourself thinking about what you're going to do or what you've done, be like, okay, but what am I doing right now? Because I'm trying to live that way too, and it's really changing my mindset. So, something to think about. Okay, bye.